Hello and welcome to another edition of Superman in Media. On this episode I will be talking about the Superboy TV show from the late 80s. I will also be joined by a fellow Superman fan, Tom G from the comic book cast. After a run of 4 Superman films and a Supergirl film, Ilya and Alexander Salkin turned to television for the Man of Steel's next adventure, this time focusing on a younger Clark Kent attending university in Florida. The show was the first weekly series produced at the then new Disney MGM studios in Florida. After the first season, however, the series moved to the Universal Studio lot not far from there. The first season centered around Clark and TJ White reporting for the college newspaper, with later series diverting to a more comic book-esque plots involving time travel and beings from other dimensions. Many comic writers such as J.M. Diamandis and Denny O'Neil contributed to the show's stories, writing episodes involving characters such as Bizarro. For the first season, John Haymes Newton was cast as the Boy of Steel, along with Stacey Haddock as Lana Lang and Jim Calvert as T.J. White, son of Daily Planet editor Perry White. The first season dealt with Superboy's first public appearance. The pilot aired as 2 different cuts, one telling the story on present day, the other telling it in a series of flashbacks featuring new scenes shot by Lana, Clark, and T.J. Lex Luthor was also introduced in the first season, borrowing from Luthor's Silver Age comic origin. After a successful first season, a second season was produced, but not without massive changes. John Newton was fired from the role of Superboy, thanks to a combination of producers not happy with his portrayal as Superboy and Newton asking for more money after his DUI arrest between seasons. Newton was replaced by Gerard Christopher, as was Lex Luthor's actor Scott Wells, whose replacement became a story element, revealing Luthor underwent plastic surgery. The series' villains were also much more comic-related, with villains such as Metallo, Bizarro, and Mr. Mxyzptlk turning up. The series also featured Superboy's Kryptonian parents Jor-El and Lara. Former James Bond George Lazenby played Jor-El. As with Season 2, Season 3 also contained massive changes, changing the setting from university to the Bureau of Extra-Normal Matters, where Clark and Lana were working as interns investigating alien and paranormal activity. The tone of the series also changed, shifting to a more darker and more mature stories, many believing that the success of the newly released Tim Burton Batman to be the reason for the shift. So in this edition of Superman in Media, I have a special guest with me to talk about Superboy. I brought the special guest in because he loves Superboy. He can't stop talking about Superboy. And that guest is Tom from Comic Book Cast. How you going, Tom?
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
I'm going really well. So yeah, Superboy is pretty
Oh,
damn cool.
yeah, it's amazing actually the recent few years how many more people I'm discovering who have actually heard of this show. Because this time last year, whenever I brought it up, all I would get is blank expressions.
Yeah, like not a lot of people really know about this series because it was kind of a weird series as well. It was in that sort of weird time period.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a Warner Brothers show as well, which
Yeah.
is probably why it was. Probably, I mean, it's probably one of the reasons why it didn't get reshown a lot of times. I mean, I realized when they first showed it, it wasn't repeated pretty much ever for a long time,
Yeah.
and they kept messing with the time slot, like so many other shows that got cancelled had. And but it was super cheesy, but it was fun. They put characters into that show that they never even did on Lois and Clark.
Yeah, and yeah, like, as you said, it was really fun. It was definitely a Superman Superboy show of the 80s since it adapted a lot of 80s-ish Superman stories with like Mr. Mxyzptlk and Bizarro and all those characters.
Bizarro's great in this show. He
Oh,
really
he
is.
is. He is fantastic.
He's exactly like the comic, and that's what I love about it. I mean, Lois
Yeah.
and Clark did the episode with the clone Superman, who basically just acts like a child,
Yep.
who I'm guessing was supposed to be kind of a Bizarro type character, but I don't think Kane really played him like Bizarro. He more played him like a 4-year-old.
Yeah, just a child, really.
They did have a nice line at the end though, where they start talking like Dean Kane Superman refers to the other one as like his brother, which I think is a very Bizarro sort of
Yeah, well,
line.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people see Bizarro as a villain, but he really isn't a villain. He's just a guy who's a
No,
bit backwards.
it's the Frankenstein monster story. He's the
Yeah,
misunderstood. he's the misunderstood creation of a mad scientist,
Yeah,
or at least in some variations of his origin.
yeah, yeah. That's true.
Let's face it, they've changed Bizarro's origin enough times that it's hard to keep track these days.
It is. It is true. But yeah, this series was really cool. It did some really interesting things with like Superman's origin, especially like when he was becoming Superboy. Since this doesn't take place in Metropolis or Smallville, it takes place in Florida at is it Schuster University.
Yeah, Schuster University,
Yeah,
which I love that.
yeah. It's a great
Schuster
little
Uni-
reference. Great little reference.
and a lot of the stuff at Schuster University took place in a building called the Siegel Center as well, which was
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
yeah. In the
There were so
journalism.
many references.
Yeah, it was
I tell you
great.
what, it's like how if you rewatch Lois and Clark and listen out for the name Mike Carlin, you will hear Carlin or Mike all the time.
Yep.
Like that name just pops up everywhere, and it's just as cool as it is because obviously he was big in the comics at the time. Like he was the man.
Mhm.
But I always just loved. I mean, I won't keep going on about Lois and Clark, but I think the biggest reference they had was the fact that they said his ship crashed in Schuster's Field.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's everything is Siegel and Schuster. But it's
Yeah.
great. I mean, the first two seasons are easily the weakest. I mean, the first season is the weakest by far, especially with Lex.
Yeah, and especially with special effects.
Oh, I'll tell you what, the wire work though is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really surprised they went the wire work the
Well,
route when you
they
can.
had they
Yeah,
had the special effects coordinators from the Reeve movies working on it. Like even
yeah,
the guy that was the visual effects supervisor or whatever for Superman 2 and 3 was actually he directed like 4 episodes of Superboy.
yeah, yeah. Because like, if people don't know, the people responsible for those Superman movies, the Salkins, did this series as well.
Yeah, I mean they did it because they'd sold the rights to Superman to Canon.
Yeah,
Supergirl was a massive flop, and they were like, "Well, what have we got left? We've got Superboy." And they
yeah,
were
yeah,
like, "We don't want to make a Superboy show." So it's like, "Oh, just make a Superman show and call him Superboy,"
yeah.
which is
Which is
essentially what
it's
seasons 3 and 4 are.
it's really weird as well when you think about it, because they're basically the same character. It's just that those three little letters on the end that are changed.
Yep.
But
It's
yeah,
amazing though when you keep hearing people call him Superboy, and he's clearly like in his like late 20s,
yeah,
like early 30s.
yeah, it's really weird. Like he has to
But
shave every other day and all that sort of stuff.
he goes through the Jonah Hill and Superbad routine. But no, I love this show like so much. I mean, it is proper cheesy, and
Yeah.
the fact that it was a 20 minutes, like each episode was only 20 minutes long, didn't help. To be fair,
No, not really.
I
They
mean,
should have bumped it up to 40, but maybe they did that because of budget reasons.
yeah, I mean the weird thing is, 20 minutes didn't seem long enough for Superboy, and
No.
yet there are many episodes of Lois and Clark that are 42 minutes long, and they just some of them just drag.
Yeah, they
Like
just
Lois
go
and
on.
Clark could have done with being shorter, and
Yeah.
Superboy could have been done with being longer.
Yeah, well, I guess it's like the sort of like Lois and Clark was more of like a romance story with Superman
Uh,
in it, whereas Superboy was more X-Files, sci-fi sort of stuff,
Especially
Superman
towards the
stuff.
last 2 seasons.
Yeah, well, they started working, like Clark and Lana started working for like basically the X-Files.
Yeah, the Bureau of Extra Normal Matters or something.
Yeah.
But it's basically the Daily Planet. Their boss is basically Perry White with a different name. I mean, there's no Jimmy Olsen character, but I mean they've even got the character who's I mean, there's something they did in Lois and Clark where every now and then they'd have the guy who runs the snack desk downstairs at the Daily Planet, and they'd have chats with him, and like he'd be sort of like a friend of theirs who they see every now and then. Superboy had basically the exact same character. The only difference was in Superboy he was blind,
Yeah, yeah. And
which was an interesting thing to add. I've got to say, because it
yeah,
meant
well,
that Clark keep like taking off his glasses in front of him and not
yeah,
getting caught.
yeah, not having to worry about any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, this series also had a comic series running with it, didn't it?
Oh yeah. The comic series started running when season 2 was about to premiere, which
Yeah,
is weird because I mean, have you read the comics at all? Just
I have, and I actually was going through them not too long ago, and I actually found one that was like, I remember like years ago, like probably going on like 15 years ago. I
oh
remember
no,
having
really?
one
You
of
had
these
it.
comics, and I'd lost it, and I had no idea what it was, but I knew what the front cover was, and I found that front cover, and I was so amazed.
Oh, it's amazing though that you like back then. Would you even have known that it was based on the television show rather than the comic? Even
Probably not. No.
see, that's something I think is amazing about this. Like, and there's so much. I mean, when reading the comic book version of the show, it's surreal when you read a Metallo story, and
Yeah.
it's not the comic book Metallo. It's the
It's
little
the TV show Metallo, which
It's
is
the
based on
TV.
the comic.
Yeah, but it's like it's not quite right, if you know what I mean. Like there's something off about it that
Yeah.
doesn't sit right when you're reading it, and especially when he starts using his catchphrase like "I'm a lucky guy." It's
Yeah.
I love it. It's just and Bizarro was great in the comic as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and this show also had like a bunch of comic writers as well on it, like
Oh, a load.
Danny
Probably more than
O'Neill.
Smallville had.
Yeah, well, way more than Smallville had. This one had like comic writers every other episode, really.
Mm. I think it's because they saw the early episodes and how weak they were, and they were embarrassed. It was like, well, we got to help them here, haven't we?
Yeah, and it was during the '80s, and I don't think DC was really much doing anything in the '80s. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of comic writers. I mean, not as many comic writers worked on the Superboy spin-off comic book as they did on the show, but I got the feeling that because obviously John Byrne had retconned Superboy, the original Superboy, out of continuity at this point. I
hmm
think a lot of these writers maybe had these Superboy story ideas that they really wanted to tell, but now couldn't. So
yeah,
they were like, "Well, I might
yeah,
as well give it to the show."
yeah. Well, like I'll go write the comic for the show or something.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
there's some of the comics are really good, and the art is fantastic. Like nowadays, those would have been like the digital comics that DC keep releasing and stuff like the mini ones, but the artwork wouldn't have been nearly as good today
yeah. Oh, yeah,
because they would have put
definitely.
their cheapest artists on it.
Yeah, it'll just be like, yeah, it's a digital thing that no one cares.
Yeah, here you go. It's Superman Beyond. Remember that?
Oh God, don't remind me.
See, I
Um,
liked Superman Beyond, and then they rebooted it in the middle of the series, and I was just like, "What the fuck are they doing?" I was
yeah,
enjoying it before they rebooted it.
yeah. I remember that because they rebooted it to go with that Justice League Unlimited comic or something, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was great beforehand because I mean I remember it was either the very first issue or the second. There was a shot inside the Fortress of Solitude, and it was all supposed to be set in the future of the New 52. Yet he had his classic suit
Yeah, he had all
next
the
to the New
suits and
52 suit.
everything.
He
Yeah.
had every suit he's ever had in continuity all on display, and I thought, now that is beautiful.
Yeah.
They retconned it out, never showed it again.
um,
Ugh.
also
I'm gonna
this.
go on a rant about DC. If I do this.
Also, this show had two Superboys over
Yeah,
the span of what 5 seasons.
just like Lois and Clark had two Jimmys, this one had two Superboys.
Yeah, and
See,
which
that's
one do you
unheard of,
like?
recasting the
Yeah,
lead.
yeah,
What?
but it was like the perfect storm as well of how they recast him. He wanted more money, and he had like a
And then he,
DUI or something, or
yeah, I mean they've come out since and said that actually the DUI isn't what they the reason why he got fired. Apparently it was the money and they didn't have it in the budget. Also, he was dating Stacey Hyder, who was playing Lana at the time as well,
oh,
which
okay.
must have been awkward when he got fired and replaced, like on set.
He's
But
just turning up on set and
he's showing up on set still just to support his girlfriend. He's watching some other guy playing his role.
yeah.
If that ever happened, I swear to God, that's hilarious.
Uh,
But no, I do prefer Jared Christopher, the second Superboy. I'll be honest, but
he
in
does. He
terms of
looks
looking,
more Superboy-ish.
he looks more Superboyish. He's got a slight. I mean, his whole performance I felt was stronger. Like his Clark is fantastic. His
Yeah.
Superboy is fantastic. Whereas John James Newton, I think he was very good. I can't really fault him for the way that he played it, but
hmm
I don't think he had as much depth to he didn't put as much depth to the character that Gerard Christopher did.
Yeah.
And even though I think he looks more the part of Superman, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
even though he looks like a young Superman, I think just Jared looks
Yeah.
more like Superboy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And he still does as well. Like a couple of years
Oh,
on,
they
he
they
still
both
does.
look like Superman now.
Yeah. So if they ever want to like reboot the series or like maybe Supergirl,
Yeah, yeah. If you're looking for Supergirl casting suggestions, get Jared Christopher or John James Newton. Like either of the two would be fantastic.
yeah.
But there's a ton of things this show did that I really appreciated. I mean, they gave Perry White a son that wasn't Jerry White, which I
hmm
appreciated.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
Jerry White, Perry White's son, who turned out to be Lex's?
Oh, I can't remember.
It's been so long since I've read that. But yeah, T.J. White was an interesting character who I was always disappointed that, like how Chloe Sullivan or Felicity Smoke has been added to the comics, I was always disappointed that TJ wasn't, because he was really funny, even though they kicked him off for the second season.
Yeah, he was he in the comic series?
In the comics, he's there, yeah.
Yeah, he was
Essentially, when
yeah.
they released the comics for season 2, it's like the comic is essentially a reboot of season 1, because the very first issue of the comic completely retcons everything in the first 2 episodes of Superboy.
Yeah.
Like, it's his whole introduction to the world is completely rewritten.
Yeah.
I think he was smart though, because his introduction episode wasn't very good. I'll be honest.
Which one was that again?
Oh, you remember? It was technically episode 3 because they aired them out of order.
That's right. They had like the pilot as like the 5th or 6th episode or
Yeah, which
some
was
really
really
random
bizarre,
stuff.
You have dialogue in the episode, like, and he doesn't know what he's gonna do, and like, he's
Yeah, it
like,
doesn't
"You
make
must become
sense.
Superboy, and
Yeah.
it's and it was like people saying like, "Who are you?" It's like, "I'm Superboy," and it's like, yeah, you've been around for 4 episodes already, mate. Like, couldn't they have just cut that line? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Just in the edit, even.
Mm.
It's great. I mean, they had the character Andy Mcalister in season 2 was pretty funny. Their new roommate when TJ left, he was the guy from Weird Science.
Yeah.
I forget his name though.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
I think TJ did come back though. Actually, I think he had a cameo in like season 3.
I kind of remember something about him coming back for like an episode or 2.
Yeah, wasn't there an episode set on like a movie set or something? And he was
That's right. He was like a special effects guy. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah. See, I love that, especially since since TJ never actually worked with that Superboy as well, when they like talking like they're friends. Like, it was a really nice. It really helped connect that first season to the rest of the show for me. It was something that they seem to have abandoned the first season pretty much, apart from a few minor characters.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's one thing I always liked about this show. They weren't afraid to reference their past.
Yeah, that was great.
And they weren't afraid to be cheesy.
No, it was sometimes really good and sometimes really bad.
Oh yeah, at its best, it's fantastic. At its worst, it is absolute dog shit.
Yeah, there's some good episodes, there's some bad episodes.
And there's a good Lex Luthor and there's an awful Lex Luthor.
Is that the one that becomes the Frankenstein monster sort of thing, or?
Oh God.
Those episodes were amazing.
Oh, I mean, the episode where Luthor loses his hair is one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen. Like, he loses his hair, so he hires some assassins. One is dressed as Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
One is dressed as a ninja, and the other one is, oh shit, what is he? He's like a British legionary, like soldier or something.
Yeah, just a complete randomest people.
For some reason. Yeah, they're all on horseback, and it's like, okay, fellas, you gotta go kill Superboy. And they're like, okay. It's like, well, how exactly do you expect to do this? They haven't got a plan. They don't reference how they're gonna do it. It's just like, right, you guys on horseback, go kill Superboy.
Yeah, just shoot him. He'll die.
Shoot him. Oh, if they had kryptonite bullets, it would have been over very soon. Just the same as BVS. If Batman really wanted to kill Superman, he would have filled those miniguns with kryptonite bullets.
Yeah. That's a topic for another one.
Oh, that's a rant for, yeah. We'll definitely have to rant about that.
Yeah, definitely.
When the Ultimate Cut comes out.
And very soon, I think.
Oh God, I hope so. I can't wait to watch it. Like, I'm almost as hyped as I was for the for the actual movie itself. I'm actually that hyped, but not even in a good way now. I'm hyped just to see. Please have improved it somehow.
Yeah, but anyway, that's it for Superboy, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, we didn't mention the parallel universe episodes.
Oh, those are amazing.
I mean, there's that he goes to alternate worlds. They introduce this thing where Superboy's ship on its way to Earth, like from Krypton, went through a wormhole, and that's why in different universes he arrives at different times, which is a really clever way of explaining like the Golden Age to the modern age.
Yeah, I think they even use that sort of reasoning as well for like comic books like Superman Red Sun and everything. Like he arrived like 14 hours earlier. That's so he landed in Ukraine and everything.
Yeah, which I thought was, I mean, Red Sun, I'm glad you brought up that, because, I mean, the episode Roads Not Taken is clearly huge inspiration for Red Sun.
Yeah.
Where he plays, it's the Sovereign, and he's like, he's the dictator of the world. Like
Yeah.
Superboy is the dictator, and it's a fantastic episode, and a lot of the themes are very Red Sun. But then
Yeah.
you have the episode where he goes to a world and Superman must have crashed in the 30s or something, as he originally did, and it's some older guy, I forget who the actor was, but it's like Superman's like a white-haired old man, and it's like the world is a utopia at this point because he's changed the world and made it better.
Yeah.
And that was a great episode. Like they couldn't use the name Superman, but I did love the line when he says, "And the day you do this, they won't be calling you Superboy anymore." And it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah, foreshadowing.
foreshadowing. They're not allowed to say the word man, but they are allowed to tease the hell out of it. Yeah. Oh, it's a great show.
Yeah, it's
But
a
yeah,
great,
that's all I think.
great show. If you haven't watched it, go pick it up. It's probably on YouTube or something.
Oh no, it's not.
Or
There's a lot of clips.
go ask Gerard Christopher to like buy some out of the back of his car, because I know at one point he had all the masters for all the episodes,
yeah.
and he was selling them.
That's how I got some of my first copies. I mean, I
Oh,
didn't
really?
get his ones, but I managed to find someone that had bought it off him, and they made me copies.
Oh wow.
So I've got all the Superboys on DVD, but the quality is abysmal.
Oh yeah, I've seen like the episodes I've seen, and just so shit. Like the quality.
Oh, thankfully, if you really want to watch the show, they did release them officially eventually on Amazon. So there's like all 4 seasons on DVD now.
Yeah, that's good. They should do like a big remaster of like all the old Superman stuff.
Oh, Lois and Clark especially needs a remaster for Blu-ray.
Oh yeah, it's in that nice 4x6.
But I'll tell you what, leave it in 4x6. I mean, the Blu-ray release for like the Batman 60s, like the 66 series, and what they've done with Star Trek Next Generation and original series, like they've remastered those, and they look like they were shot yesterday.
Yeah,
If they could
the
do that-
Next Generation stuff is fantastic.
Yeah, even the Batman stuff, if you look at it in 1080p, it looks wonderful. Like it's really, really, they put a lot of work into that. I was super impressed that they managed to do that with such an old show.
Yeah.
Lois and Clark and Superboy especially really need that treatment, and I think out of the two, Superboy is the one that's least likely to actually ever get it.
Yeah, because it's not
Considering
all
the
Warner
DVDs
Brothers or anything. Or...
Yeah, plus the DVDs didn't sell particularly well, which is why they're still so expensive. But...
Yeah, well, I think they would if there was like a spike in Superman, like hype.
Yeah. The thing is, they didn't even advertise them.
No.
They just put them in stores, and that was it. People didn't even know to look for them. I mean, season 1 they released, and then it took them about 4 more years to bother releasing seasons 2 through 4.
Yeah.
And then they just released those seasons all together, and it was just like, well, release them all at once. I mean, they didn't even tell people the rest of the seasons were there, so for a long time, all you could get was the worst season of the show on DVD, which is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It'd be nice to have some TV spots. If they had like next time there's like a big Superman anniversary, maybe they should do like Superman Day, and they should have a day on CW where they just show one episode from every Superman incarnation ever.
Yeah,
That's the
that'd
sort
be
of thing
good.
I would be, oh yeah, like start with like Kirk Allen, go George Reeves, like move on to like you got to get the Fleischers, Lois and Clark, Superboy,
Yeah.
all the way up to Supergirl. And
Yeah.
then they could use that to. Oh, they should just do that as the day before Supergirl premieres, or the day that it does premiere for season 2.
Yeah.
Have every Superman, one of every Superman incarnation, and then Superman on Supergirl.
Yep.
I'd make a point of watching every single part of that.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Oh yeah.
It'd be absolutely fantastic. Well, I think that's pretty much everything we can say about it.
Yeah.
And
Definitely, if you haven't seen the show, definitely at least watch
Yeah.
seasons 3 and 4. You do not need to watch seasons 1 and 2.
no, they're completely
honest.
different shows.
Completely. I mean, the only things you might get lost on if you don't watch seasons 1 and 2 is a few of the characters and stuff. You might like they reference things that they've done before, and there's characters that come back and say, "I'm back again," but it's like it doesn't really. You can pick up any episode of this show and watch it whenever. There's no overarching storyline or anything.
No, they're all pretty much self-contained, which is great.
Yeah, it's impressive for 20-minute episodes. I mean, to be honest, if I was making the show and they said you've only got 20 minutes an episode, I'd make it serialized.
Yep.
But that's just me.
Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much Superboy for this Superman in Media. Definitely check that show out. Definitely go check Tom out. He's doing some really cool stuff. What are you doing? Tom Talks or something?
Yeah, Tom Talks is the new series I'm doing on the Comic Book Cast. Other than that, I'm just making a lot of like GTA Machinima short films and shit.
Nice,
You
nice.
probably like one of my latest ones though, because I used music from Superman in it.
Oh, nice.
Well,
Make sure you don't
technically,
get copyrighted.
well, what I did was I was going to get copyrighted originally, so what I had to do was actually switch it up with it's a guy playing electric guitar of the Man of Steel theme, but he does put some of the John Williams into it as well. So
Ah,
it's like
yeah.
a really interesting combination.
Cool,
But yeah,
cool.
it was already on YouTube, so they can't take it off.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, definitely go check out Tom's stuff, some really cool stuff, and yeah, keep a eye here on Fortress of Solitude for another Superman in media coming real soon. Thanks, guys.